Get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a viewer submitted replay. This is actually from a circling, cnguyen, who is in Circ 2, so he's one of my own circlings in fact. Now, if you're newer to the game, you may be confused by this matchmaking. Yeah, this is an 8-11 replay and this is actually a confrontation mode battle. And this matchmaking is pretty much why it was removed from the game. Ostensibly to be reworked by Wargaming, but I wouldn't be surprised if it basically gets, consigned to memory, that we never see this game mode in the game again, because you ended up with matches like this fairly frequently, where one particular nation or one particular tier would just dominate that tier, and obviously tier 6, KV-1Ss, and well Su-100s, as you can see there. All things with big 122mm guns with 175 average pen. So on the face of it, this is not good. This is in fact very, very bad. But that just goes to show why, although looking at the team list can be valuable, it can give you information about your opponents and maybe what they're likely to do, it's not necessarily the be-all, end-all. It's like looking at XVM and deciding right there and then that you've definitely lost. Although, I don't know what XVM would have showed for this battle, to be honest, because obviously I don't use XVM, so maybe XVM would have given an unexpected result, you don't know. But as a non-XVM user, I tend to go by the team list, and I tend to look at the tanks. But the thing to remember when you're looking at such a team list is that not necessarily everybody is going to have their elite configuration. They're not necessarily going to have their top guns, their top engines, whatever. So bear that in mind. So there's the first customer, and he doesn't last very long. Now, I should mention that Nguyen is in the 3001D. This is the, you can see there, it's the tier 6 VK. One of the tier 6 VKs, in fact, there are several. And it's a fairly decent tank, although I don't think I have actually played it myself. It is, well, it looks very similar to the tier 7 VK, the 3002D, and I have played that, and I didn't especially enjoy it, but that was quite a long time ago. I basically gave halfway up, I gave up halfway through that grind in order to go play other things that I enjoyed more. Mostly because I don't especially want the Indian Panzer or the Leopard, and I'm sure people are going to call me, well, some people will call me crazy for that, but they're medium tanks that don't really suit my playstyle, I think. So these are old style KV-1Ss. These are the KV-1Ss with the big guns, except that one doesn't. Remember what I said? Now, something interesting is about to happen, and it's quite lucky. Now he's got this guy tracked, and there we go. A KV-1S shell bounces, and that's a 122mm shell that just bounced. The one that he tracked and got the assistance damage for obviously had, what was that, a 85mm gun. And, oh, there we go, Su-100Y, bye-bye box tank. But the AP shell that bounced, yeah, that was a big shell. That was the big gun, so that's pretty lucky, and that just goes to show you the value of angling, basically. If that hit his turret, he probably would have actually been the worse off for hit points right now. But it hit his front armour, and because his front armour, even though it's only 60mm, was angled sufficiently, it just bounced. Now this guy is alone, or so Nguyen's hoping. He's just rushing in, but look at the minimap, there's also an Su-100 that's gone down here. Now he's being, I mean, this is a risk. Rushing a heavy tank and a medium tank like this, you're exploiting their poor turret traverse or whatever, their poor tank traverse. The Jagdpanzer IV that's there also goes forward, but Nguyen slightly screws that guy by breaking off his engagement with the KV-1S and going for this Su-100. And yeah, that was lucky. That was lucky. That was nothing to do with angling and everything to do with that going in his tracks and actually not damaging him at all. So that KV-1S is still alive just, but I mean, we can say Nguyen maybe screwed that Jagdpanzer IV a bit, but equally these guys here did as well, because they waited way too long to push up. And this Jagdpanzer, the other Jagdpanzer IV, and the Dickermax that were back here the whole time, well, they might as well have not been in the battle for all the contribution they've made so far. So that's the 3001P that's down, and this KV-1S is, well, he's about had it. You see there, he's gotten hit by those guys there, so that's an important position if you're starting yourself in Redshire. If you can hold that, then you can help out this flank. You can also help out this flank quite considerably. Lo and behold, there is another KV-1S, so it's not just some of his friendlies that were camping, although, 4 of them to 1 of this guy. So he's being Nguyen's being a bit cautious here, maybe because there are still a pair of SU-100s that are unspotted, which could be here. So he could sort of rush round behind this guy, but oh no, as it turns out, they've got an AFK SU-100. So okay, and also this KV-1S also not stock, not top, elited. I know what I mean. Well, I mean the opposite of what I'm saying, but whatever. That's a bit weird, that one. That looks like it bounces, but then it pens, so maybe it ricochets off the back and pens the back of the turret. Who knows? Anyway, so, as it turns out, yeah, not all their KV-1Ss were elited. That was at least 2 of the KV-1Ss that didn't have their top 122s, and that helped. And the fact that some of the enemy team were pancakes helped as well. Even if that guy didn't have his top gun, if he'd been a lot more forward, if he'd been helping out his teammates, things could have gone differently there. And Nguyen's basically, I mean, some of the guys he's with have also done some damage, but it's going to be one of those cases where, when we talk about, escorting the pancakes on your team to the cap circle, this is kind of what we mean. The teammates that really don't do much to actually help the team out. They maybe do a 200 or 300 points of damage, and then they just drive to the cap circle, and that's their contribution to the battle. That's basically what's going to happen in this match. So there are enemies left to kill. This is a decisive victory at this point. The other flank was also successful, I think largely because of these guys in the middle helping out. If it had just been these 2 VKs over here, they probably couldn't have managed it. But because the enemy team really neglected the high ground in the middle, our team has had a fairly comfortable win. So he's pressing round. He wants to do more damage. He's already done 2,300 damage. And this gun, the what is it? The L70, 75mm L70. This is a fairly decent gun. It's like the US 76mm. It's kind of ubiquitous at the mid tiers, and it's a good all-rounder gun. There we go, an SU-100 that doesn't have his top gun either. So yeah, that's a bit more damage. And also, if he does get hit by this guy, he knows he's not going to lose a big chunk of his health in the process. So he's just going to take his time, maybe. And I think he's actually trying for tracking shots in this match. He doesn't always succeed, but he's already gotten some assistance damage that we know of. So there we go. Yes, this 3601H and this 3001D. Basically, yeah, all he did was escort them to the well, I say all he did. He escorted them to the cap circle. They're now capping, so Nguyen's struggling to get in a little bit more damage. There's one tank left. And maybe he doesn't have his top gun either. It's kind of hard to tell from the silhouette there, but it doesn't look like he had a muzzle brake on that. So yeah, it looks like matchmaking was a bit lucky in that it looks like 3 out of 5 of their KV-1Ss were not elited in a elited configuration. So that ended up being an ace tanker for Nguyen, which was that was a very, very good effort. He got also a high caliber medal and a Confederate medal out of that, which is a nice combination. And with 3,048 damage done and 2,586 assistance damage, that netted him 1,697 base XP, which is pretty impressive when you're top tier. It's also almost treble the next best effort on his team, which was 601 base XP. I think it's fair to say he fairly well dominated that match. If he hadn't been in this game, things may have turned out differently. Although the enemy team wasn't particularly good, the rest of his team, they may have stepped up, they may not have, we'll never know. But he basically did more damage than the other tanks that he was with on his flank combined. The next best was the Jagdpanzer IV that was actually trying to move forward and do something, and unfortunately got slightly screwed. The other guys that he was with, I mean the 2 people that then drove to the cap, one of the 3001Hs and the other 3001D, between them they had a grand total of 265 damage. Yeah, and all of the cap points, 51 and 49 cap points. So that's, when we talk about escorting the pancakes to the cap, that's exactly what we mean. This is exactly the wrong time to cap in that kind of circumstance in a battle. You're just throwing away XP and you're throwing away credits. Fortunately, it didn't impact cnguyen that much because, he just did so well out of that match generally. But, yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was an interesting match because even though he was top tier, he managed a really, really good XP result. And also, it's of interest because it was a confrontation mode battle, and also it shows that despite things may be looking hopeless at the beginning of a match, they may not necessarily be. Sometimes you just have to give it a go, and perhaps 8 out of 10 times you're correct, there is hopeless. But those 2 times out of 10, the effort that you put in actually just trying can make all the difference between a win and a loss. If you just, if he just quit back to garage, maybe that would have been a loss instead. We don't know. But he definitely had a disproportionate impact on that battle. If he hadn't been there, it would have been a very different battle. Might still have been a win, but a very different kind of a win. So, if you enjoyed this replay, you can leave any comments below, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.